Thanks for joining. We're at the Myra Canyon Trestles just outside of Kelowna, BC. This is the historic route once followed by the Kettle Valley Railway. Let's go and explore. The Kettle Valley Railway was a subsidiary of the Canadian Pacific Railway and the primary means of transportation and communication across southern British Columbia in the early 1900s. Built as a railroad like no other, it opened on May 31st, 1915, and ran from Midway to Hope, where it connected to the main Canadian Pacific Railway line. The Kettle Valley Railway operated in full until 1957, when sections of the line began to be decommissioned. Other portions of the railway continued to be in use as recently as 1989. Today, much of the railway's original route has been converted into a multi-use recreational trail known as the Kettle Valley Rail Trail. And one of the most popular sections of that trail is Myra Canyon on the Okanagan Mountain. Myra Canyon is located about 18 kilometers southeast of downtown Kelowna and contains 18 different trestles and 2 tunnels. Between 1912 and 1914, engineers used a combination of ingenious engineering methods to skirt the rim of the Myra Canyon, with the railway line seeming to miraculously cling to the cliffside several thousand feet above the canyon floor. This awe-inspiring work was widely recognized as a feat of railway engineering and began to be known as McCullough's Wonder. Although the route required the construction of 18 different trestles, only 2 tunnels and 3 deep rock cuts were required. Andrew McCullough originally planned to place a tunnel at this site, but when excavation began, the contractor found that the rock was highly fractured and unstable, so a full cut had to be made instead. Telegraph poles like these carried communications along the length of the railway, with lines running over top of glass insulators. Kettle Valley Railway used 75-pound rails, but they were upgraded at least twice to accommodate heavier loads and heavier equipment. This is one of those 100-pound rails cast in 1947. It has a length of 13 yards and weighs 1,300 pounds. The Myra Canyon section of track ran from Myra Station to June Springs and carried freight and passengers through the Myra Canyon until passenger service ended in 1964. The last scheduled train went through this area in 1973, and the tracks were finally removed in 1980. As time went on, Myra Canyon became an increasingly popular spot for hiking and cycling. Unfortunately, due to the unprotected trestles and steep canyon cliffs, some serious accidents had occurred, and the government was contemplating closing the trail altogether. In 1993, the Myra Canyon Trestle Restoration Society was formed with the objective of making the canyon safer for public recreation. Aware of the historical significance, the Restoration Society applied for recognition of the Myra Canyon section of the Kettle Valley Railway and was granted approval as a National Historic Site in January 2003. However, just months later, disastrous wildfires ended up destroying or damaging 14 of the 18 historic trestles. Between August and September 2003, lightning sparked the start of the Okanagan Mountain Park Fire. This fire grew quickly and engulfed many portions of the Kettle Valley Railway between Ticton and McCullough Lake. Despite best efforts by firefighters, the fire claimed 12 of the 18 trestles in Myra Canyon, and the bridge decks of 2 additional metal bridges were also destroyed in the fire. This steel trestle is one of the ones that survived the fire. Built in 1932, it replaced the original wooden trestle constructed in 1914. This steel trestle is the longest and tallest in the Myra Canyon section of the Kettle Valley Railway, running a length of 720 feet. Soon after, the provincial government announced that it would rebuild the damaged and destroyed trestles and bridges, and the Myra Canyon Trestle Restoration Society was directed by the province to oversee reconstruction of the trestles. The restoration project took 2 years, and the trail finally reopened in 2005. Today, McCullough's Wonder has been restored to its former glory, attracting thousands of tourists and recreationists each year. One of the things that makes this so attractive for recreation use is that the maximum grade on the Kettle Valley Railway is 2.2%. That means that the grade through Myra Canyon is virtually flat. Often called the most difficult and expensive line of track on Earth, the Myra Canyon trestles are a true engineering feat. Set against the backdrop of British Columbia's stunning landscape, they're sure to inspire awe for years to come. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, it's time to exit through the gift shop.